Good afternoon, David. Thank you for taking time to join me today on the show.
You're very welcome. Good to see you.
It's great to see you again as well. And I'm really enjoying seeing your recording studio space.
Well, thanks. Yeah, it's my therapy. Besides my motorcycle, it's my therapy.
I can totally relate to that. Maybe not so much the motorcycle part, but just like being in movement.
Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely.
Definitely. So I wanted to have you on just because we got to meet you when we were in Colorado, and you shared with me you had a podcast, and we connected with you on so many different occasions while we were there. And I just wanted to have you on the show so you could share with the audience and with other people your story, and also how you ended up finding that retreat space.
Sure. So, this last retreat where I met you guys, I was a volunteer because I was, the year before, I was an attendee. And so that was my first experience with it. And the way it came about, my wife saw a little clipping in the newspaper talking about the retreat. I'd never heard anything about it before. She hadn't either. So I sent him an email and never heard back from anybody. And so it was maybe just a few days before the retreat. And I thought, well, I'm just going to drop them a note and see if they even got my email. And so they did, and they said, well, yeah, we accepted you, and you should have got this and that and so on. And so anyway, long story short, they got me in within 48 hours, and I was able to attend and work with a couple of amazing songwriters that, as you guys know, help you bring out your story easier than you think it's possible to bring that story out. And so we wrote a song, and it was beautiful, and I love it to this day. And then I came back again as a volunteer when you guys were.
Amazing. If you don't mind sharing, like as personal or as open as you want to this question, is why did your wife feel that this would be a good fit for you?
You know, she's very in tune with a lot of things in this world, and I am but one. And she knows how important my military experience was to me. She knows how important music is to me. She knows how important veterans are to me. And she didn't really know what she didn't know about the retreat, but it was enough information to go, maybe you ought to check this out. And so it's really that simple.
Awesome. And what is your background being in the military? How did you get there, your experience? Just sharing a little bit of that story.
Sure. It was, I was in the 60s, and I was attending college and I was attending everything but class. And so back in those days, if you weren't able to get a college deferment because of your grades and all that, chances are you're going to get drafted into the Army. And so I thought, I'm just going to go join the Navy because I don't want to join the Army. And so long story short, I joined the Navy, ended up volunteering for the submarine service. And so I spent a little over 3 years on a old World War II diesel boat submarine as a radioman, and doing voice communications, Morse code, all that kind of stuff. It just time of my life. I got out early because they decommissioned the boat, and otherwise I would have stayed in forever. I love the old diesel boats, the way they work, the camaraderie, all that, and I had no desire to go on a nuke sub where you had to go out to sea for 6 months at a time. It just wasn't my deal, So I love that experience, and when the opportunity came to write a song about it, I hadn't really thought about that, to be honest with you. We sat down and we're talking about my experience, and one of the songwriters says, well, what kind of music do you like? And I said, well, anything, R&B, Four Tops, Temptations, anything like that. So he gets on the keyboard, starts playing some blues and some old R&B, and I'm going, yeah, that's it. And then they start working on lyrics as I'm telling them my story about being on the submarine and different things that happened there, as well as some health issues that I had years later. And so we just went on and on with it, and all of a sudden here came this great song, and it was upbeat, and it was fun, and everybody loved it. but it was really, really cathartic and really deep in a lot of ways, because it talked about situations on the submarine that could have been very traumatic, for lack of a better term. As an example, we were 450 feet under the water, and we had a runaway engine, which means the diesel engine started on its own. And if we weren't on top of the surface where that diesel smoke could ventilate, then we would all die because of the smoke. So we had to do an emergency surface like you see in the movies, right? Where the boat comes out straight up like that. And I was on the bow planes, so I was controlling the trajectory of how we would come out of that water. And so that was heart pumping. And the other thing that was interesting about that was we'd had a Russian trawler following us for about a week. And we knew that with our emergency surface, we were going to have to come up pretty close to him. And we missed him by 100 yards, but we made it. So
wow.
There were a couple interesting things like that you put in the song.
That would definitely get the heart pumping. I'm like, oh God.
And the rest of it was kind of health related. You know, I mean, the song is "God Ain't Done With Me Yet" is the basic lyric and title of it. And I had some health issues later on, and just in the past few years, really, where I had cancer, back surgery, I had a stroke, all kinds of stuff. And so every time they would come up with a lyric, then they would come back, well, obviously God ain't done with me yet, you know? Mm-hmm. And so it was taking all of those opportunities to have tragedy and turning them into an opportunity, because I was still alive and I could theoretically touch people because of my story. And that's what the song is.
Beautiful. Can you paint a picture as to your expectations going into the retreat and then what it was actually like when you got there?
Yeah, I was nervous as could be, because maybe you guys felt this way too. I just didn't know what I didn't know about the experience. Right? Mm-hmm. I'd read about it. I was just a little bit familiar with it is all. And I thought, this just feels like the right thing to do. There's no such thing as a coincidence in my world. And so when I got finally accepted 48 hours ahead of the event, I'm going, well, I must supposed to go here. So I went, and meeting 8 other vets was amazing and made it much more comfortable. The surroundings were beautiful. I knew the people that owned the ranch where we were at. They've been friends of my wife's for 30 years. And so the surroundings were familiar to me. They were comfortable. The vets were comfortable. The songwriters were, everybody, volunteers and everybody just made a really comfortable place. And then you start off that first evening just by singing along and having fun, breaking loose, just like you guys did. And it's all of a sudden you're in a place where you're going, all right, I'm open. Let's do this. Whatever that means, let's do this. So it was nerve-wracking. It was challenging. And then at the very end, when you hear all the music that came out of all the songwriters that told the stories of all the vets, it was just Goosebumps City. It was cathartic. People were crying. People were laughing. It was just one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. And I couldn't wait to volunteer for your experience.
And will you continue to volunteer?
Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. My calendar is all ready to go for October 2019.
Oh, that's great. Aww.
Yeah.
That's great. So since then, when have you shared your song? Do you just keep it to yourself, or have you shared it with
No. Yeah, I shared it with my wife, of course. When we got done with the retreat, they were so generous to send you a photo album, if you will, pictures of everything that went on there, CD with your music, a DVD of all the songs from everybody. And so, yeah, I sat down and showed that with my wife, and she's just starting to tear up, and I see why this was so important for you, and all that kind of stuff. And then I sent the song out to a few family members and close friends. I shared it with my Bible study group, and anybody who asks me, I'll send it out to them, because it's really meaningful to me.
Beautiful. And tell me about your podcast. I remember right as soon as we met, I got your business card. I'm like,
Yeah.
you have a podcast. I want to be on it. I'll give you mine. Let's do it.
Exactly.
Tell me
Exactly.
about your podcast.
It took us a while, but we're on the roll here. So,
Took
you
less
know,
than a year.
exactly. So I was in radio for a very long time, and I love that experience. I hadn't been in it for a very long time. I've been a full-time voice actor for 12 years now, and I thought a couple of years ago, I'd really like to do a podcast, but I don't want to do a podcast as a voice actor because there are so many of those out there, and they're very, to me, I love the people who do them for the most part, but honestly, I think they're very self-serving, and that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to create a format where I could help people in some meaningful way. So I created this podcast. I ran it for about 4 or 5 months. I said, it's not happening, So I took it down, pondered again for 6 months, and then put it back up. And now I'm really happy with it because I wanted to be able to interview experts on management, marketing, personal relationships, and self-improvement. And so that's what I do. I interview three experts every week on any one or a combination of those topics. And they air every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern. So there's a new recorded program every 3 times a week. And it's fascinating because I'm able to talk to so many interesting people and learn so much myself. And with my radio experience, I'm blessed enough to be able to knock on Formica, ask some decent questions to help them open up a little bit, and hopefully it touches somebody along the way. So that's really the deal. I didn't want to make any money off of it. I wanted to do it as a pay it forward kind of thing because I've been so blessed for so many years, and that's the way it's turned out. I just recorded my 309th interview yesterday.
Whoa, you need a cake. The one is like 310. Like,
I know. I have a daughter-in-law that bakes cakes, and so I think I'll order one for my 500.
Yeah, 500. That's a good one.
Yeah. So I love it. It's great fun.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't realize like how much of a commitment it is once you start a podcast or a show, like to get the people to show up, ask the questions, like make sure it's good, send it out, keep showing up every week. And that's 3 times a week. Like that's a lot.
It is a lot. But I keep them at 20 minutes. So it's manageable, and like when we start an interview, I mean, from the beginning conversation to the very end, it's no longer than 30 minutes, usually 25. And then I can record it so that each of us are in separate channels. So when I go in to do post-production on it, I can make sure their levels are equal with mine. I can clean up some noise and make sure it is under 20 minutes and that kind of stuff. And then I post it through Libsyn, and it automatically goes out to all the podcast apps in the world, all my social media, just does it automatically for me. So
I use Libsyn as well. It's so great.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I remember when I first heard about it, when I was like searching, like just learning about how to do a podcast because I didn't know.
Sure.
And I found Libsyn and I was looking into it. I'm like, really? They publish it on all the places for you after you upload it? Okay.
For $20.
I know. I was like, why aren't more people doing this?
I know. I turned a couple of my friends on it that do podcasts, and they're going, "What? This is crazy easy,"
It is.
So you're on iHeartRadio, you're on Spotify, you're on all these great places that really, I mean, you can't get on iHeartRadio unless you go through Libsyn. You just can't do it.
Yes.
So it's, I love it. It's, my wife says, but you're not making any money. I said, I know, but I'm having fun. I'm getting educated. I'm touching people along the way. I'm having adult conversation 3 times a week because most of the time during the day, it's me and my dog.
Yeah.
And so it's a win-win deal,
Yeah. Fabi and I always say that. We're like, we're going to keep going with everything until it's not fun. And then, it's time to let something go.
Exactly right. That's exactly. And I just got back, just a short sidebar. I just got back this last weekend from a 4-day, 3-night a silent meditation retreat at a monastery in North.
Ooh, I've never done one of these. Tell me about that.
Oh, God. My first time ever, it was an amazing experience because you're there with 15 other people. You start each day with a meditation. You're quiet, you're silent for 18 hours. First
Wow.
day, 15 hours the second day. Now you can hike, you can walk, you can color, you can paint, you can read, you can do anything you want. You just can't talk to anyone. So you immediately lose all electronics and connections with the outside world, which for some is a challenge. Fortunately, it wasn't for me, much to my surprise.
Mm-hmm.
You also have to be present, which is very difficult for some people. I thought it would be impossible for me, to be honest with you. It took me 20 minutes and I was engaged. And so you're there with like-minded people in a beautiful surrounding. You go to a monastery and listen to monks sing. And it's just unbelievable. It's life-changing. It's life-changing.
Nice. I find if I just even take a day where I'm not so like into everything, I get so much more creative from the silence.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly right. And so now, just simple things like I had a couple of games on my phone. All right, got rid of those. I haven't read a newspaper or watched a newscast in a week.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I start off my day every day reading the Bible. I go in and do some work. I have some breakfast. I walk my dog. I go back and do some work. I think I'm going to go to bed. So my pace, granted, it's only the third day, but my pace is so much better. In fact, when I was telling my wife about it, she's in the Smoky Mountain National Park with one of our granddaughters on vacation. And so I was telling her about it, and she texted me this thing back that said, "It's hard, but with intention, you can find peace." And I said, "Honey, do you know what you just said?" "No, I hadn't had my coffee yet." I said, "That's one of the great lines that I've heard forever, and I am now implanting that into my daily routine. It's hard, but with intention, you can find peace." So that's my mission right now. So far, so good.
Oh, your wife sounds awesome. I want to have her on next.
Yeah, she is awesome. She's a public health nurse, and she goes door to door and takes care of newborn babies and moms on Medicaid. And it's a blessing, I'll tell you.
Yeah, she's probably like a home of salvation for a lot of people.
She is. Yeah, she might work with a 12-year-old meth mom one day and a 42-year-old PhD mom the next. It's all over the map of people that she was able to touch.
I find that very like humbling when like you can see all walks of life going through similar things.
Yes.
When you kind of have an image of what you think someone must look like or what they must be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very humbling to see that sometimes it doesn't always fit your image as to what you thought.
Well, and that's where as you will express, that's where silence comes in handy. It's where being vulnerable enough to be open to what's actually real and not what you imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Vulnerability is critical, I think, in all of our lives. Authenticity, integrity, all those, buzzwords, but they are really, really important.
That's amazing. Where can people find you? Where can they find your podcast? What's it called? Or your social media?
Well, if you go any podcast app, Your 20-Minute Podcast with David Brower, or you can just search my name and it'll show up. You can go to davidbrowervo.com, and my podcasts are all there.
Has it led to any like really profound connection or opportunity that you didn't expect, or that kind of built on something else and it wouldn't have happened if you wouldn't have done the podcast or had a certain person on?
Yeah, I had a guest, I want to say it was a year and a half ago, who is president of the Autistic College of America, I think it's called. And anyway, she grew up she was raising her autistic son as a single mom. Didn't know what she didn't know about autism. Long story short, she found this doctor who was expert in it, learned everything she could possibly learn from him, wrote a book, started this college. And her son now is 22, self-sufficient, graduated college, has a job. Well, about 6 months after that, I found out that my great-grandson has autism. His own spectrum. And so I gave my granddaughter the book that I received from the author and put her in touch with her. And I mean, that's just one experience where I'm going, okay, let's do this, you know. And there's lots of them, you know. Most of them, I think, can come up with in a conversation with somebody and you go, oh, I got a podcast on that. Let me send you a link.
Oh, nice.
Right. And yeah, so it's cool. It's a win-win.
And before I let you go, tell us about your motorcycle and your adventures.
So I'm trying to ride my Harley in all lower 48 states. I've got 15 to go.
Ooh, whoa. That's a book in itself.
Yeah. I was going to finish it up this past fall, but on this other arm, I pulled my bicep tendon off the bone. And so I had to have surgery, so I couldn't ride. And then I just 2 weeks ago dislocated my elbow on my left arm, so I can't ride for a couple of months.
Your arms.
So, I know. So I'm going to finish, knock on wood, I'm going to finish up my trip this fall. And basically, I'm going to go to the Northeast, late September, early October, go up to Niagara Falls and down so I can see all the fall colors from the East Coast. Ride down and see my son in Florida, work my way back home, and my 48 states will be done.
Oh my goodness. Have you been in Canada at all?
Not yet. Not yet. It's I want to do that. In fact, I want to come see you guys on my ride. So I've got it on my calendar. So we'll see if I can squeeze that in, and you can squeeze in, have me come over.
That would be great. We're going to be in Cape Breton a lot this summer. We just got the RV ready to go. So we got a couple more weeks and we're cruising.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And we were inspired with the singer-songwriter retreat. So we're going to do one this October in Canada in Pictou, Nova Scotia.
Nice.
We're going to have some Canadian veterans and some singer and songwriters that Keith Mullins is helping put together.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so we're going to...
Goosebumps. That's cool.
Yeah, we're going to give it a try. And he's
good for you.
People together. We're getting people together, and we got a space that two of our friends are going to be living. It's like a big farm.
Okay.
So they're going to be living there, but also turning it into Canada's recreation. So it'll be a retreat for veterans, but also a space so you can go four-wheeling and jeeping and just go all over the fields and in the woods. And yeah, it's going to be another option for other people. So
well, and watching you two together, you are so good together. You're so blessed. You are so motivated to do the right thing for people at the drop of the hat. And I'm so impressed with the two of you and what you do and how you do it and how you want to do it. It's just a thrill to watch you go.
Thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you and hopefully in Cape Breton.
Yep. It's on my list.
Perfect. That'll be in your second volume of your book, the Canadian edition.
That a girl. There you go. Got to be an audio book though, right?
Yes. Yes.
Sounds good.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to speaking with you again sometime soon.
You bet. Take care.
Thank you.